So JP, you've got a new book, Chomp Chomp Chomp, the Snapfest Challenge. We're going to get into that, but I've got to ask you, and this is sort of a loaded question, but I want to know because I don't know your backstory. Everybody knows your videos, but how did you make your way into YouTubing and comedy?
Man, it's been one big happy accident. I won't pretend like I'm intelligent enough that I had a premeditated plan. Here's how we're going to start YouTube and comedy and make it grow into something uh, worthwhile. But so, how I stumbled my way along by accident 9 years ago, actually, October 5th, 2014, is when I uploaded my first comedy video. And I thought it was just going to be a one time thing because I had been having sort of an itch I wanted to scratch, like an idea, like I want to share this perspective through the language of comedy. And my sense of humor has always been, pretty alive in my life. But it's like, well, I don't even know how to make a comedy video. Nobody else is going to think it's funny. And I was working as a health coach at the time. And I thought, well, and this would discredit me as a health coach. I'm supposed to be serious. But after a while, I just said, you know what? Screw it. I have to do it. Scratch the itch. So I made the video, uploaded it in October 2014. And it definitely woke something up inside of me. It was the first time I really felt a sense of palpable creative satisfaction. So that was very rewarding. And I also had an intention behind it, a purpose to the video beyond just making people laugh. So it felt meaningful in that respect. And after that, a few weeks later, I had this other crazy idea, which was maybe I could make another comedy video. And so I started making them just sporadically, anywhere from once a week to once a month. But after about a year of being sporadic with them, something clicked in my mind and I realized, like, oh, I think this is not just like a quick fleeting thing. I think I'm tapping into a sustainable well of something kind of cool. So after another year, then I eventually quit my day job, my health coaching practice, personal training, nutrition, all that cool stuff. As the comedy was just growing, the audience was growing, opportunities coming at me. And looking back, I can appreciate it took a lot of courage for me to let go of something good, my previous career, to let the possibility of something even better come in.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And flash forward now, obviously your videos get millions, hundreds of thousands of views. What is that like to sort of watch those things that you're creating? And obviously a lot of them are hilarious, they're very funny, you're poking fun at the things that are going on. But what's it like to see the influence of that, because it's pretty sweeping and wide?
Yeah, I'll give you two answers: the present day answer, and then uh, my answer from 8 or 9 years ago. The first time I would have videos go viral, it was just weird and confusing, and like, well, so now people are coming up and recognizing me at a coffee shop and an airport is just weirdly confusing, like very pleasant, but confusing. Like, how the heck does this happen? Because I'm aware I'm nobody special. And I don't say that in a shaming way. It's just like I'm just JP. And I'm glad to be JP, but I'm just JP. But now, I find you normalize. But also now I'm very deliberately not paying attention to reactions. It's just I know my purpose, I know my mission. I'm creating content, and when I'm not creating content, I'm paying attention to my family and friends and doing what's important to me. So, like right now, I'm looking out at my window at trees, and that's really the only feedback I care to get. So I feel now fairly oblivious to like hundreds of thousands or millions of views coming in because I just don't really pay attention uh, to the, I guess, scope of it and feedback. And learning to not pay attention to it is actually important for my mental health. I also recommend it for other people as well. and it helps keep me on task. So yeah, I'm sitting here kind of oblivious.
I kind of like that because, it's like I always lived by this principle of don't read the comments, which I know is counterintuitive for a lot of people. I just, unless I've said something crazy or I need to, which never really happens, I don't want to know what people are saying because you get so caught up in that. And, like you said, you know what your mission is and you're here and you're doing that. And I want to talk about the book. But before we do, about 6 months ago, you put out a video and it was really interesting. And it definitely sparked a very big reaction about your views on God and how they had changed and, faith. There was a lot in that video. I was actually going back and watching it again this week. What sparked that? What made you, because you even say in the video, this is not intended to be a funny video. This is, a heartfelt video.
Yeah, I'll tell you what sparked that, but first I'll tell you what inspired me from posting that. That was, changing my mind about God and sharing my present day beliefs about God. A non-comedy video going on a comedy YouTube channel. And that became the best performing video in months. That really inspired me because it was, it helped make me aware, like, yeah, this is something on a lot of people's minds. Because I look at the problems we have in the world and there's too many to count and some of them are very severe. And I do think all the problems track down to one common denominator of people being disconnected from God, then run by their ego, their greed, corruption. We want control, power, or people being obedient to it. Those are all symptoms of people being disconnected from God, in my opinion. So, but what sparked that over the past 3 years since the beginning of COVID, I've accidentally gotten more Christian. And I'm not claiming to be a perfect Christian by any stretch. I've just gotten more Christian. I come from a background. I used to live in California and I was new age spiritual. And, part of that is like, well, I'm spiritual.
Well, that's huge. That's huge now, though. I mean, that's exploding right now, ironically, right? I mean, that worldview is, you're seeing that sort of everywhere among young people as Christianity sort of wanes, at least nominally. Anyway, just a side note, you're seeing more of that. So it's interesting that you have this inverted experience of becoming more Christian.
Yeah. And with the new age spiritual world, there's a lot of good I got from it. And there's also propaganda, and as there is in any belief system. And part of that propaganda is you kind of learn to think that religion and religious people are just unevolved. They don't get it. So I had fallen for that. But COVID happens, I become a father, and I start to realize, like, oh, Christian values and Christian perspectives, they resonate with me. And I'm not trying to get more Christian. They're just accidentally resonating with me. And I find it interesting. I've had a lot of people share they're going through that same thing. And my hypothesis of why are people accidentally getting more Christian, I think at least in our lifetimes, I've never seen the presence of evil so obvious. And I think something happens when you're experiencing the presence of evil and, a lot of the world's corruption, trying to control it. I honestly think that stems from evil. So if you don't resonate with the evil, if you're not willing to sell the space where your soul should be in order to do the bidding of the evil, you'll naturally go in the opposite direction of evil. You'll polarize in the other direction. And what's in the other direction? It's God. It's just kind of like if someone walks in the room with terrible body odor, you'll naturally be leaning away. And I think people, even if it doesn't consciously register, a lot of people have been leaning away from evil. And when you do that, by default, you're going in the direction of more godliness.
Yeah. Well, and to your point right now with all this desperation and chaos, you have all these wild stories of, 4,500 people showing up on a beach to get baptized in California when that's never happened before. You're hearing all these churches, they're baptizing record numbers of people. And you look at it and you're like, oh, that's so strange because everything's falling apart. But to your point, it's almost like people are being pushed away from that evil toward the truth. And that That's really interesting. So how has that journey impacted the way you live, the way you think? I mean, how has it sort of permeated you?
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference is how I view things, whether it's world events or my community or my family or my role in the world. It's changed my perspectives about life, because I think what's going on, in my opinion, we're living in a time of spiritual warfare. It's good versus evil, God versus the devil. And I just see like so much of what's going on seems to be a symptom of that. And I think people aligning themselves to the best of their ability with what God wants of us. And I think, by the way, freedom is God's way. We're born with free will. It's a very beautiful, divine thing. People are having the opportunity to sort of lean into God or not. And I think there's a lot of temptations. I think there's a lot of deliberately engineered temptations to disconnect people from God. I mean, that's communism 101. The first thing you do is get people disconnected from God, and now they're going to be more controllable because we all need a higher power. We're humans. We need that. And if you don't have God as your higher power, then like, hello, tyrannical government, I'll obey you. You'll be my higher power. So yeah, really just my perspectives, things just seem to make a lot more sense. And things seem to have just a heck of a lot more purpose in them. Just sort of seeing things through what's my little bit of a fresh lens.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, and if you're not falling into the communist category, you're falling into the God of the self category, right? Which is what a lot of these issues are. It's sort of like, well, I'm just going to do whatever makes me happy and whatever truth I want to believe. And a lot of your videos you've hit on those sorts of themes and the things around that. But you have this kids book out, which I think is incredible. Chomp Chomp Chomp, and obviously, I think a lot of people would wonder why a kids book. What led you there?
Yeah, and first off, thank you for mentioning it. I'm very proud of it. Chomp Chomp Chomp. Shameless plug. It's available at bravebooks.com. But what led to it? My most, my biggest passion, my biggest concern is children. So the passion is protecting children because they are innocent. They need adults. They need parents to protect them. Not only protect them, but guide them until they're old enough and wise enough to start the journey of really guiding themselves. And really, I'm with all that's going on in the world, all the problems, and so many of them do concern me. Nothing emotionally moves me more than seeing children uh, predatorialized. And at the very least, we can start with the dangerous ideologies that are trying to invade kids' minds. So we know children need to be protected from those degenerate ways of thinking. And we also need to provide positive solutions to children that will instill good morals, good values, pro freedom, pro America, pro God, so that ultimately children can have a good life. So being a father, that just woke me up. Like the children are the most important thing for sure. So I see this problem, and the book is one small contribution to a positive solution for children, because their entertainment, Hollywood entertainment, children's books, they're infected. And specifically with this book, it contains the message that I want to teach my son, where if I could only instill one message in my son for him to carry now throughout the rest of his life, it would be, dear son, do your own thinking, be in touch with your heart, and have the courage to follow your heart and follow your own thinking. So I wanted to make that message available to families all around the world. So that's the message embedded in the story of the kids' book.
That's awesome. And obviously your hope is for that message to then, I would imagine, reach other kids and other families who, are growing up in a time where it's very hard to discern what is true and what is not. You turn on your TV, you watch the news, and I love what you said about entertainment, because entertainment is creating probably some of the most confusion out there that we're seeing among kids right now, and they're just inundated with it, right?
They are, and there's a saying: the devil masquerades as an angel in disguise. So these messages embedded in children's entertainment, they're packaged as though they're virtuous, they're loving messages. If you're a good person, this is what you're going to think. So it's a really predatory way that the messages are packaged. Everything from gender to critical race theory, like, hey, let's teach these kids to fight racism by teaching them racist tactics. Uh, and also the message of shut up, don't say what you think, or else you're going to be canceled. So there's like, intimidating messages involved as well. So it's just so pervasive. And as parents, I don't love saying this, but I think it's true. It's our fault. If your kid's being attacked by alligators, it's because you put them in the alligator pen.
Right. Right.
And that's why
Yeah.
we need more choices, more positive options out there for parents, so that we can simply choose better influential entertainment, education for our children. Because if it's our
Absolutely.
fault, the problem as is, the alligators in the alligator pit, they don't get children unless you put the children in there. So parents,
Yep.
if it's our fault, the problems that we have, because we've been putting our children in an alligator pit. We didn't know it's an alligator pit, most of us, but we do that. So the good news is, if it's our fault, then that means we also hold the power to create the positive change that we wish for our children.
Yep, and we give them the tools to know how to fight too, right? How to fight that alligator, how to avoid it
Yeah.
at all costs. And your book, Chomp Chomp Chomp, is another great way that parents can do that. Can grab a tool that will help them on that journey. JP, this has been great. Really appreciate having you on today.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Billy, and I appreciate the very American background.
Yeah, we both have that, right? I mean, it's great. It's
Yeah,
great. All
it's like
American all the
our
time.
version of virtue signaling. We're just, yeah, I'm a patriot. I want you to know it.
There we go. I love it. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. And the book again, Chomp Chomp Chomp, over at Brave Books. Thanks for your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Billy. Appreciate you.